from Marie Harf. She's the State Department spokeswoman. Marie, thanks very much for joining us. Go ahead and tell us what you think of what we all heard about Senator Cruz. He says that this was all political and the FAA was a tool of the president to squeeze Israel into making concessions for a ceasefire.
Well, Wolf, as I said yesterday, I'll repeat it again. That's just a ridiculous and quite frankly, an offensive assertion. He spins a good tale, but unfortunately, it's just not based in reality. The FAA makes decisions based solely on the security and safety of Americans and American pilots and American citizens on these flights. And when they had new information last night that indicated they could lift this notice, they did so. And I would also point out that we do have a notice to airmen right now over parts of Ukraine and many places around the world. There's a whole list online at the FAA's website. I'd encourage him to take a look before he talks about how, quote, unprecedented this was.
He also says that if it were strictly a professional decision by the experts at the FAA, you could prove that, you could make these people available instead of, he says, you talking for them instead of letting them speak for themselves, to which you say...
To which I say, look, the FAA has very good press people who can speak for themselves. I responded to a question that I was asked at a press briefing, and I wanted to make very clear that it was not a State Department decision. It was not a political decision in any way, shape, or form here. The FAA has very serious responsibilities that I know they take very seriously, and that's why they make these decisions. And I'd make one more point, Wolf, in terms of what Senator Cruz said broadly about our relationship. It is an unshakable relationship. And those Iron Dome systems you see today in Israel shooting down Hamas rockets, it was the Obama administration that helped develop and fund that system. This administration that is today saving Israeli lives. So again, interesting tale he's spinning, but not based in reality.
So let's talk a little bit about the whole nature of what's going on right now. Secretary of State John Kerry, as you know, the Prime Minister of Israel, and when they met, Netanyahu asked Kerry, please intervene with the FAA and convince them to lift that ban. We now know 36 hours, the ban was lifted. Here's the question. Did Secretary Kerry, your boss, try to influence the FAA?
Look, that's not how the process works, Wolf. You know that. The Secretary did discuss it with Prime Minister Netanyahu when he brought it up. But this was a decision the FAA made solely based on the fact that they had new intelligence that they'd gotten from the intelligence community, and there were additional mitigation steps the Israeli government itself had taken. So we felt comfortable, the FAA felt comfortable lifting the ban. So that's the only decision that went into this decision-making process. The Secretary agrees with Prime Minister Netanyahu that we want normal life to return to Israel. That's why he's in Cairo, shuttling back and forth, trying to get a ceasefire here, because we don't want Israeli citizens to live under the threats that we've seen with rockets that have not only landed close to the airport, prompting this notice, but that have threatened Israeli citizens all across the country. So the Secretary is very committed to this. That's why he's there on the ground right now.
How close is he and the partners he's working with to achieving a ceasefire between the Israelis and the Hamas?
Well, Wolf, there are still some pretty large gaps here, and we knew this is complicated. There are a lot of issues at play here. He's been shuttling back and forth, spoken, you know, with 15 different calls today with other partners in the region, the Qataris, the Turks, the Emiratis, others. But he's going to be making some decisions very soon about whether the parties are actually interested in coming to a ceasefire here. His time on the ground is not infinite. He has other business, of course, to attend to as well. So I think we'll see over the next 24 to 36 hours whether or not there's a clear path forward here. Because we really, at the end of the day, all you have to do is look at the scenes coming out from the ground today to know that we need a ceasefire as soon as we possibly can, that it's so important for the citizens of Israel and, of course, for the Palestinians as well.
So can I assume that if you say 36 hours, the Secretary's at least going to stay in the region? He's in Cairo right now for another 36 hours. Is that right?
I've learned not to make any assumptions about how long John Kerry will stay anywhere overseas in any one location. Look, he's there until at least tomorrow. I think he's going to be making some decisions soon about what the next steps are. He's working very closely with the UN Secretary General, who's been very involved. But there needs to be a path forward here, and some significant gaps do remain. But no matter where he is, whether he's in Washington, in Cairo, in Jerusalem. He's been very engaged with this for some time, making phone calls and trying to push the parties back to a ceasefire here, which is where we need to get, again, as soon as we possibly can.
We heard the Israelis say they're ready for a ceasefire, but Hamas is not. Is that your analysis?
Well, it takes two to put a ceasefire together here. And obviously, we've worked very closely with the Israelis, and the Egyptians and the Qataris and others are working with Hamas, who, as you know, we don't talk to because they're a terrorist organization. But we need both sides to agree on what the terms of that would look like. And there are a lot of complicated issues here. We knew this wouldn't be solved overnight. It's a very difficult situation, but we do need both sides to come together here and make some tough decisions because we know it's what's in the best interest of both of their people, but it's going to take some time possibly to get there, hopefully not as much time as we think.
Well, all of us want to see a ceasefire and see the killing and the dying stop in Gaza and here in Israel as well. Marie Harf, the State Department spokeswoman. Marie, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Wolf.